Hey guys, it's Catherine and I'm finally back with a brand new video. This video is going to be all about memory keeping or memory planning. Now, I get a lot of questions about memory planning. Some people are wondering what it is because the term is so confusing. You know, most people, when you think of planning, you think of planning ahead, which that is what planning is. But memory planning or memory keeping is this form of planning that is kind of like a scrapbook and planning hybrid. Basically, all you do, instead of filling in your week ahead of time, you go back and you fill in your week or even your daily pages after they've already taken place, and you just write about what you did that day, or you can incorporate some pictures that you took that day. There are a lot of possibilities with it. So another frequent question that I get is, how can you do memory planning and make your planner look full if you're not a busy person? And this video is going to answer that question in great detail. So I will post timestamps down below in the video description. Now, I am technically a busy person because I have two small kids that I stay at home with. I also have an 11-year-old stepson who is in school. It's currently his summer break though. And I also have my own business where I work from home. But the reality of it is, because of my kids who are always going to come first, I really only get 1 to 2 projects done per day. So on paper or in my planner, whatever, I don't have a lot to write down. I don't have a long to-do list, because if I gave myself a long to-do list every single day, I would just get really depressed because my kids dominate most of my days. But on the other hand, I love to plan, I love to scrapbook, and I love for my pages to be full. As you can see here, this is just one example. My whole planner is filled with all kinds of layouts and all kinds of pictures just like this. So there are times where even when I have a day that is not even remotely productive, I still find ways to fill in my planner. So first, I'm just going to go over a few ideas, and then I'm going to show you my process for memory planning, and you guys are actually going to watch as I fill in my week for the week of June 3rd through June 9th, 2019. So the first talking point, it's kind of what I just said. You don't have to be a busy person in order to do memory keeping. Maybe you're retired, or maybe you stay home like I do and you don't really get out a lot with your kids because it's very hard to get out with, especially multiple small kids. You don't have to be busy in order to do memory planning. I know it seems like it wouldn't be fun to write about what you watched on TV that day or what music you listened to that day, but it is. It's actually really fun to write about all that stuff because it's always fun to look back and remember what happened on a specific day. The other things you can do to make your planner appear more full is to take pictures. As you can see here, this is a weekly spread. And I didn't take a picture every single day, but on the days where I have pictures, whether it's this spread or any of my previous spreads, you'll see how much space those pictures take up. So even if you just take 1 or 2 pictures a day specifically to use in your memory planner, that's going to fill in some space for you. And as you can see, I like to write over my pictures and add backgrounds to my pictures to give my planner an even more decorative feel. And the last piece of advice that I have before I get into my process of memory planning is take notes. If you don't have time to go back and write about your day each and every day, that's totally fine. There's times where I've gotten 2 to 3 weeks behind. So what I do every day is I take notes about what happened that day. I write down the main highlights, or the main events, I like to call them, of the day. This could be anything from something productive that I've done. If I release a planner, I write that down. If the kids had something going on that we had to be at, I write that down. I just write down, 2 to 3 events. And if the day literally had no obligations, if we didn't have to be anywhere, if I didn't get anything done, I might even write about the food that I ate that day. Another thing I keep track of is the TV shows that I watch. You'll see here this week we were actually at the beach. So I created a space for our beach time and our pool time, and then I wrote about all the food that we ate that week because food is my favorite part of vacation. And then I had a box for pictures where I just placed my favorite picture from each day. So, you know, there's several things that you can write about. But if you're like me, you may be really forgetful and maybe you don't even remember what happened like 2 days ago. So I always try to take notes about what happened every single day. I just put it in my phone or I grab my iPad and I write it down in my notes on my iPad, which I'll show you in a minute. And then whenever I have time, I go back and I fill in my planner based on those notes. So I don't want to take up any more time in the intro of talking about memory planning. But if you are wondering about the digital products that I'm using in this video, check out the video description down below and I'll link to all of them. So I like to do all of my decorating and filling in the Procreate app rather than GoodNotes. You can do this stuff in GoodNotes as well. That's totally fine. I just personally prefer Procreate because you can get more creative in Procreate than you can in GoodNotes. So before I get started with my actual layout, I just wanted to show you guys an example of some of the notes that I take each week so I can remember what happened on specific days. This is really only necessary if you don't have time to fill in your memory planner each week. This just helps you remember exactly what happened each day. So I normally do this on my iPad or on my phone. I'll write it down in my notes, and they're usually so much more messy than this, but I organize these in a way that would be easy for you to understand at first glance, because normally these are just scrawled in my handwriting where I don't divide things by events, TV, and pictures. I just write things down and then I'm able to look at it and know what it means when I do go back and fill in my memory planner. Also, since I normally do this on my phone or on my iPad, I usually take a screenshot of it and then save that to my camera roll and then look at my phone as I'm filling in my memory planner. But since I use my phone to record my YouTube videos, I'm not able to do that for this video. So I just wrote everything that happened this week on this sheet of paper. And I just normally every day write down 2 to 3 major events that happened on a specific day. If nothing happened on a specific day, I just write something really trivial down from that day, maybe something funny that one of my kids said, or maybe something funny my husband said, or just something that happened. I always write down the TV shows that I watch each day. My husband and I make it a point every single night to spend time together, and we usually watch our favorite TV shows or our favorite movies. So every single day I have a TV show or a movie that I know that I can include in my planner. That is my favorite time of day, by the way. Whenever my husband and I sit down and watch our shows or our movies together, it's amazing. So I always like to remember what we've watched. And I also go through my camera roll and I pick out which pictures I want to include in my planner. So I'll show you later in this video, but there's a way that you can search your camera roll by date and it'll pull up all the pictures that you took that day. So that's how I figure out which pictures I want to use. So some days I take a ton of pictures and some days I don't take a lot. So on the days that I take a lot of pictures, I usually include 2 to 3 pictures that day. But some days I actually struggle to find a picture because some days I don't take any pictures. So by searching my camera roll using the date, I'm able to see all of my options all at once, and then I just write that down. So now I'm going to show you how I fill my planner in Procreate. So I've actually kind of started decorating this weekly spread. This is a layout from the Life is Beautiful Memory Keeper, which is linked down below. This particular spread is made for memory keeping. So you'll see here I have already filled out most of this sidebar where you just write down what you're excited about, where you're going, what you're thankful for, a lot of other things right here. None of that's really important right now. And then there's an area for your favorite photo of the week and then a word of the week. So none of that's really important because not all spreads include that. What we're going to focus on is over here. So I haven't even dated this planner yet. So I'm going to do that now. Since Procreate actually offers the ability to use fonts within the app, I'm going to just create my own number stickers using a font that I like. So if you're curious how to do that, I have a video that I'll link to in the video description that shows all of the new features in Procreate, including how to use the text tool. I also have a video for anybody that is very new to Procreate that shows how to do all of the basics in Procreate, and I'll link to that in the video description as well. So I'm just adding this text now, and I'm making it black because I'm actually going to overlay it in a texture. So what I'm doing now is I just stretched out this text box so it would go across the whole screen, and now I'm just typing each number that I need. This font, by the way, is called Honey Apple, and I'll link to it in the video description. So now I've typed out my numbers. I'm just going to double tap and select all, and I'm going to make these numbers bigger. I'm going to make them as big as I possibly can. That looks pretty good. Yeah, that looks pretty good. So now I've got all of my numbers. So now I'm going to rasterize my text layer so I can use these like stickers, and now I'm going to fill them in. And I'm just not focusing too much on this because I don't want this to be a design video. I just want this to be a process video, so that's why I'm not going into great detail. But like I said, you can check out the video description for tutorials on how to do a bunch of this stuff in Procreate. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start filling in the events that happened each week. So this is where you can get really creative because you can choose to use a sticker set that you've either created yourself or purchased from another Etsy shop. You can use Procreate stamps if you're decorating in Procreate, and you own any kind of like planner stamps or post-it stamps or something like that. You can even draw your own little notes, whatever you want to do. What I want to do this week is I want to use sticky notes. So I am going to pull in some sticky notes that I have in Dropbox. And I'm going to pull in black because I actually want to change the color, and it's easier to change the color of a black object. So now I'm going to close out of Dropbox. And I'm going to keep one copy because I want to use this every single day. So I'm going to duplicate that sticky note and then hide an original copy. And now I want to color match this gradient that I had previously created. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to drag and drop it on this, And then I'm going to drag and drop it on the sticky note to change the color. So here is my first sticky note, and I'm going to go ahead and write the events for the 3rd on this sticky note. So let me get black. I'm going to write it in black. And I'm going to use my bounce brush from my creative lettering set. So right now I'm just writing an events header. I don't always do this, but I think it'll look cool if I do that and put it over the washi tape. And yeah, I like how that looks. So I'm actually going to duplicate that. And then I'm actually going to merge this with my sticky note so I won't have to do that every single time. Okay, so To get my writing a little bit more even, I'm just turning on my drawing guides, and now I'm going to start writing the events. So the highlights from June 3rd for me were that swim lessons were canceled, Sunny started art camp, and that I released the Finer Things planner. So those are the 3 things that I'm going to write about. And you don't have to number them. I usually don't number them, but I'm numbering them this week because I think that'll look cute. So here's number 1. Okay, so there is my sticky note of events. So now I'm just merging all these layers together, and now I'm going to size it down and place it under the 3rd. So now what I would normally do is just go across and do that for all of my days, and then come back and do my pictures, and then come back and do my TV shows. But I'm just going to show you how I fill in these first 2 boxes, and then I'm just going to speed through the rest so you can see the whole process, but I'm only going to stop to explain for these first 2 boxes because it'll pretty much work the same way from here on out. So there are my events for the 3rd, and now what I would normally do is include pictures because this is personal preference. Pictures are more interesting than incorporating what TV shows that I watch that day. So I always make my events my first priority, pictures my second priority, and then TV shows are the last priority, which sometimes get left off because some days I take a lot of pictures that I want to incorporate. So to find my pictures from June 3rd, I already wrote down that I want to include my picture of the Finer Things planner because I didn't take a lot of pictures that day. So I usually just pull up my camera roll, and then you can go to search down at the bottom, and you can search for pictures by date. So I already had June typed in up there, so now I just need to type in a 3 to find all of my pictures from June 3rd. And here is a screenshot that I took of my daily page from the Finer Things planner. So now I'm going to move that aside, and now I'll shrink this down to fit. Normally, I don't include pictures of my planner in my memory planner. I do every now and then, but on this day, I didn't really take a lot of pictures, and I don't really have a lot of options to go with for the 3rd. So there is this picture. So now I'm seeing that I still have a ton of space, and I've technically got 3 shows that I could fill in that day because you'll see up here I watch The Office every morning. I just wrote that at the top because that is something that I can always use to fill things in as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get on Google, and I'm going to save some images from The Office, Goldbergs, and Schooled because those are the 3 shows that I watched. So let me go to images, and so now I'm going to bring in those pictures. It's easier to just bring them in if you can do side by side or multitask mode or split screen mode or whatever it's called. I don't even know. That's the easier way to find your pictures. So here's my picture of The Office, so I can bring that in. And that's pretty small already, so that's good. And then I'm just going to select these other 2 and drag those in. Okay, so I'm going to start with The Office. see how much space this takes up just from saving images online. It takes up so much space. So I see that this picture from Schooled is not going to work. So usually when that happens, I go back and I try to find an image that's shaped more like what I need. So this one is actually perfect right here. So now I can save that. So you can always go to Google and find images that are relevant to your day to pull in. If you didn't take a lot of pictures, just like on this day, this is a good example of that. Okay, so now I've got a completely full day for June 3rd. Even though I only had 3 highlights and I only took 1 picture, I made it work based on TV shows. But you could also do that with food or music or projects or whatever you had going on that day. There's so many ways to fill up your box. So now I'm going to move on to Tuesday, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to do Tuesday, and then I'll just speed through the rest for anybody that's interested in watching the whole week. By the way, what I normally do when I finish one complete box, I usually merge all of those layers together when I'm working in Procreate just to reduce my amount of layers. I'm going to do another sticky note, so I'm going to go ahead and duplicate my sticky note. And I'm turning this gradient back on because I want to color match this faded color right here. And now I'm going to change the color of the sticky note. Okay, so my events for June 4th, it was the first day of swimming lessons. My mom came over, and then Sunny had art camp. So I'm going to write those. By the way, these swimming lessons aren't for me. These were for my 4-year-old son and my 10-year-old. He's now 11. He turned 11 today. My now 11-year-old stepson. So they had a lot of fun with that last week. Okay, so again, this is personal preference, but I'm actually going to merge all of that writing together and then stretch it down a little bit to make it take up more space on the sticky note. Sometimes if you have to do that too much, it'll actually warp your lettering, which mine is technically warped, but it still looks all right since I didn't have to stretch it out too much. So that's just something else that you can do to fill up a little bit more space. So I've got all of that written down. So now I'm just making this fit. And it doesn't have to be perfect. You know, this is what you make it. There's a million different layout options that you can go with here, but for this particular layout, I am trying to line these up as best as I possibly can along the top. Okay, so for the 4th, I think I'm actually going to include 2 pictures. I just wrote down that I wanted to include 1 picture, but I know I took several that day because it was the first day of swimming lessons. So I'm going to include 2 pictures. So I'm just going to search for June 4th. And by the way, if you've been using your device for a long time and you have pictures from June 4th over the course of multiple years, you can actually further narrow down your search by typing in the year, and then it will narrow down your pictures to that specific day. Okay, so I'm going to bring in a picture of Maddox. And I'm actually going to cut some of this picture off so I can make a little more space. I think I'm actually going to add 3 pictures. And reason I wanted to leave a little bit of space is because we watched the show Chernobyl that night, and that was such a fantastic show. So I did want to write that down. So I left space for that, and now I could bring in a picture, or I could just create a little sticker and write it down here. So that's actually what I think I'm going to do. I think I'm just going to create my own sticker. So I've color matched my sticky note, and now I'm just going to draw a rectangle using quick shapes. And it was actually the season, or the series finale. It was a limited series, so there's not going to be a season 2. So I'm going to write down Chernobyl finale. Actually going to use text for finale. That's another thing to keep in mind. If you're not super happy with your handwriting, which I like to practice my lettering in my spreads, if you can't tell, that's how I actually got most of my practice in, was by making myself practice lettering in my spreads, in my planner. But if you're not happy with your lettering and you want to use a bunch of fonts, you can use that in place of your handwriting. And in addition to that, I'm actually just going to sketch out a little TV. And this is not going to look great. I'm doing antennas, even though TVs have not had antennas in years. I just think that would look cute. So there's my little sketchy TV, and I'm gonna put it down here. So now I'm just going to speed through the rest of the days, and I'll just kind of briefly go over everything after I've completed this week. Okay, so what I do when I'm done is I save my layout to my camera roll and I save it as a PNG. That's just personal preference. It'll work if you save it as a PNG or a JPEG. And then I just go back into GoodNotes and I open my planner and I find the page where I want to place this spread. So in this case, this was the first week of June. I haven't actually filled out my June calendar yet, so I'm saving the page directly after June for that. So I'm going to select this second page, and then I pull up my toolbar, and then zoom out all the way, and then just pull that in from my camera roll. And this layout is actually from a different planner, so the dimensions are a little bit different. So I just stretch it a little bit to fit this planner that I'm currently using. And GoodNotes 5 unfortunately has a bug where it makes the image disappear, but all you have to do is tap on it again and it comes right back. So that's it. That is my process for memory planning. This is just one example. I do this with sticker kits that I purchase from other shops or sticker kits that I make. I use a variety of different layouts. I mostly stick with vertical layouts, but sometimes I do horizontal layouts. You can really do it with any layout. You could do memory planning on daily pages. There's really no wrong way to do memory planning. It's completely up to you, but I just thought I would film this video because I do get a lot of questions about how I do it and questions about ideas for how to fill in your pages and stuff like that. So I hope that gave you guys some good ideas. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Please subscribe to my channel for more digital planning videos and digital planning tutorials. And make sure to check out the video description for links to everything that I used in this video and links to other helpful websites and Facebook groups and stuff like that, all relating to digital planning. Check out my Patreon page, which is like a really cool digital planning club. There will be more information about that in the video description. And if this video inspired you anyway, make sure to share your memory planning layouts in my Naptime Alternative Facebook group. There's a link to that in the video description as well. I'll see you guys in the next video.